So today I really want to tell you guys about this exciting app that I found. It's called Tiki, and it allows you to take back control of your data. So listen to this. Did you know that companies made $382 billion from your data last year alone? Well, this app called Tiki, it allows you to choose what data you share with companies and how you monetize it. You just link your accounts to the app and then you get a payout. Tiki is completely free to use and is available worldwide, so you can start earning from anywhere. Tiki just launched and they have limited spots available for people to use the app right now, so make sure that you sign up at www.mytiki.com/financially free. Now, once you sign up, you'll be sent a link to download the app and then you start using it. And they're growing super fast and will be having weekly releases and adding new features. They're doing so as we speak. More than 30,000 people have signed up already, so make sure that you join early. The link is going to be in the podcast description as well as the show notes. Let's take a moment to thank this episode's sponsor, Podcorn. Now, as you all know, I am a huge advocate for pursuing your passions and creating multiple streams of income. Well, this podcast is my passion, and by generating income through the show, I'm able to continue to support the show and create more content to share with all of you. Now, Podcorn is a dedicated platform that connects podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities like topical discussions, giveaways, interviews, or host-read ads just like this one. Now, with Podcorn, there's no middleman, which means that you get to retain complete control of your show and the brands that you choose to collaborate with. Podcorn also makes sure that you're protected and compensated for the work that you do. I have personally had the opportunity to review brands that are looking to collaborate on podcasts and handpick what brands I wanted to feature on my show based off of what I thought all of you guys might enjoy hearing. Now, having transparency, full control, and creative freedom is a value that Podcorn and I have in common, which is why I love using their platform. Click the link in my show notes to sign up with Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities today. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Financially Free Journey podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Dyer, and today I am very excited to be able to welcome on a guest that I have been waiting to be able to bring on the show for, it seems like a year now. Is that right, guys? Has it been a little over a year? We've been communicating.
Yeah, I think it's been. It seems like that we've been missing each other, and obviously there's a lot of going on in the world, so understandable, no worries.
Wealth Without Wallstreet, Russ and Joey, the founders, and I am excited today because we're going to be talking about their background, what brought them to start and build such an amazing community and business that really evolves around how you can build your wealth without Wall Street. And the name says it all right there. And so, guys, I really want to turn it over to you and tell us a little bit about your background and what made you feel inspired to start this business.
Well, I'm going to jump in there as kind of the beginning of this for me was I was in the mortgage business for 11 years. And high commission sales, lots of income, and saw that grow and grow and grow over the years. And I thought that more income was going to create financial freedom. Like in my mind, mistakenly, I thought income was the answer and that was true financial success. But as I continued to grow through the ranks of a corporate mortgage company, I started to see some things I really wasn't that thrilled about. And number one, how much time it took away from my family for me to have that increased responsibility and increased kind of success. And I kept kind of thinking, well, as your income increases, you need to treat it like the same as a doctor would. A doctor gets more money, so they have more responsibility, they have more time away. I just kind of kept making myself feel better. But the reality was I just wasn't really feeling financially free. And I knew there had to be another way, but all I had at that time was put money away in your 401k, keep your head down, work hard, and hopefully one day you'll have freedom. But I realized, man, and this has probably become more real over the last several years, but I had a 3-year-old at the time. She's now 6. She's sitting in the back seat of my car and I'm driving her to daycare. It's this little, Mother's Day Out type program. And she had one of the most profound conversations with me in the most simplest of forms. And she said, "Dad, you going to pick me up this afternoon?" And I said, "No, sweetheart. Your mom's going to pick you up." "Well, why aren't you going to pick me up?" I said, well, I got to go to work. Well, why do you have to go to work? I said, well, I've got to pay for this car. I got to pay for our house. Like, the food we eat, whatever. She's like, we already have a house. We already have a car.
Powerful.
It's just the simplest of things. But the thing that stuck out to me was the word have to. Is I have to go to work, because without actively showing up every day to add value, there wasn't going to be income to follow. I was 100% solely dependent on active income. And so Russ and I actually met in 2009, 2008 as friends. And then shortly thereafter, he started to send me mortgage leads. And he said, but before I do that, you have to read this book. Because if you don't read this book, I can't refer my clients to you. I'm like, okay. Well,
it all starts with a book. It all starts with a book.
He's like, by the way, it's $20. And I'm like, bro, that's kind of low budget.
Courtney, I don't give away anything for free. If you can't invest in yourself, I'm not going to invest in you.
You were hustling like, your best friend.
Come on, come off the book. Come off the $20 for me. Come on. But no, I'm glad he did, because he knew that would keep me focused and I'd actually do it. I read the book and it was like light bulbs started going off. Like, this is the thing in the back of my mind I've been thinking was possible, but I didn't know how to put words to it. And I started implementing those things as a client of his. And over 4 years, I just got more and more convinced as I saw results for our family and the way I was thinking about money. I was like, more people need to know this. And I got so convicted at one of the conferences we were at. I told Russ, I was like, man, I feel like I need to do this with you. I need to be out here teaching this. And he was like, are you sure? Because, I was making well over $300,000 a year. My wife didn't work. Things from the outside looking in looked good. But I knew that, man, there's an impact of people that need to have this. They need to understand this information. So I went home, told my wife, who was pregnant, by the way, with our fourth daughter.
Oh,
we now have 5 daughters, but at the time she was pregnant with number 4. And I was a little bit concerned to say, hey, sweetheart, I feel like I need to go out here. I need to quit my job, cold turkey, and I need to go and do this full time.
What was her response?
She said, you absolutely should.
Oh, wow.
Without hesitation. Yeah. When she said that, I absolutely knew this is exactly where we need to go. And so I said, hey, Russ, I'm leaving. I'm coming to work with you. That was 2014. And through a series of a couple of events there, it allowed us to start Wealth Without Wallstreet in this community. So I don't want to take all your thunder, Russ, but.
Well, no, he sets me up so well, Courtney. Like, this is like,
right. We already know you're a hustler. You had a $1,000 a year salary. So let's hear about you. Let's hear. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about Joey is that he is such a good steward of money, or another way to say that is so cheap that I knew that if he gave me $20, that there was no way that he wouldn't invest himself and start reading this book. And I knew how much power that book had, because it had the same effect in my life. So I was a financial advisor. I was doing most of the typical money management things. I went through the market crash of 2008, 2009. I know that you went through that same process. I started in 2004, so maybe just a little bit before you. And when the market crashed, it gave me this like sinking feeling of I didn't have control. And I am one of those high influencers. I want to have my hands on the wheel. I like, being able to influence and do things. And that
so now
was
you're a control freak on top of it.
That's another way of saying that, right? We always have different ways, kinder ways to say things, but sure. Yes. I think there would be some like my wife who would say, yes, you're right. Control freak. And because of that, I wanted to take advantage of opportunities that I saw coming along, but I really wasn't in a position to do it for many reasons. One, from where I was putting my money, and 2, I just wasn't educated in that light. I was educated as a certified financial planner, and I thought that knowledge was what's going to propel me. And it can, but it just was not what I felt like I had control going through that moment. And so when I gave Joey that book or sold him that book, I didn't make any money. I think I did. I probably made $2. I probably bought it for 18 and sold it for $2 just because I didn't want the change. But
business plan. I mean, the margin's there, guys. You need to explore that a little more.
Exactly. Right. So that opened up the door for lots of ideas. And so my background of a CFP, understanding money, but really more importantly, having the opportunity, having worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, worked with a lot of people who were investing with me, had made their money, their real money in investing in themselves and in businesses. And it was something that intrigued me a lot. And thankfully, Joey and I, having worked together and running our own podcast like you do and having a community, we've had a chance to just meet so many people that have created different streams of income outside of their primary profession that we have started implementing ourselves, and then just teaching that to people who are on that same journey as we are.
And guys, plug right up front. If you have not listened to the Wealth Without Wallstreet podcast, absolutely go listen to it. I binged lots of their episodes and there's lots of content. So just very inspiring. So I just thought I would put that there up front. Make sure you go search it when you're done listening to this episode. So it sounds like you guys both had similar transformative experiences, right? That brought you to this place where it was a perfect storm to create Wealth Without Wallstreet. And as I was creeping, as I mentioned before we started recording, guys, I did tons of research because I was so intrigued by their philosophy in the business that they're doing. Tell me a little bit more about your 3-step process and what is that? Explain that to the listeners.
Yeah, totally. So we have 3 steps of how we believe people can reach financial freedom. And we always say that the path to financial freedom, or the formula for financial freedom, is easy, but that path and work to accomplish it is hard. And we say financial freedom is when you have more passive income, that's money that comes in from not your active work, then you have monthly expenses, then you truly are financially free. And then you get to go to work, not because you have to, like Joey brought up in his story with his daughter, but because you want to. And there's a lot of people, even us, like, we love what we do. We show up, and we'll continue to show up forever because we don't believe in the word retirement. We think retirement is a new age word. It's not something that actually was found just right before the turn of the 19th century. And we think that this is a mindset. Most of the people we know are producers. They're productive. They love serving. But yet they have to work, which is, the Michael Gerber and the E-Myth talks about, where people move from that employee mindset to that technician to that self-employed business owner, and they start to hate their job because they're weighed down by everything that happens. And that's an issue. But there's a reason why people want to be entrepreneurs. There's a reason why people seek financial freedom. And that's in our first step, is clarity, is really understanding who you want to be, what do you need to do in order to get there, and then what will you have once you arrive, and helping people visualize that. And there's a lot of ways to do it. One of the simple ways, I'll give a hack to this, is actually filling out this financial scorecard that we have. And in that financial scorecard, one of the first results you'll have is, how close are you truly to financial freedom? Because it will make you go through a process that will take all of the expenses that you have and then focus only on the passive income, not on your active income, to give you a percentage as to how close you are. And I think in anything that we're doing, we need to know where we are, as well as know where we're going, to see how far we are away. And so in our first step, clarity helps give framework and a plan to that process.
Well, and the piece I'll add to that is there's a mindset shift that has to take place before you really engage with our process. And that is realizing that I don't have to defer freedom until I'm in my 60s. Like, let me repeat that. I don't have to defer freedom until my 60s. And what I'll tell you, I'll go back to that story of my little 3-year-old. She's not going to want to spend time with me when she's 25 like she does now.
We can hope, but we don't want to plan on it. Right.
But will she want to go to the park and go on the slide and me push her on the swing? No, it's going to be a totally different time that we're going to enjoy together at that point. But this is the time that we have today. And it is like sand, like holding on to sand. And man, how shouldn't I be in a position to take advantage of that today, instead of just assuming and accepting that I have to defer that until some later date when somebody says I can, quote unquote, retire, and all those moments have passed me by. So the other part of that is on clarity is on the other side of that is the why, right? Why
Absolutely.
is why is financial freedom even important to you? If you can't really be clear about that, then you're probably not going to be willing to make some sort of major shifts, right? And
well, it's such a misfortune for most people in our country that our financial education focus within our public education system is virtually non-existent. And then what we do learn is that you go to work, you get a good job after you go into, thousands of dollars of student loan debt, and then you contribute a small percentage, if you're able to a qualified account that you cannot access until you're almost 60 years old. So, if you've saved maybe enough of a nest egg, you can live a little bit beyond Social Security income. And when you put it that way and you think about that perspective, it can be draining and a little depressing for most Americans. I mean, I'm sure you guys can agree with that. So that clarity around why is financial freedom, which is, I think, the new version of retirement, why is that important to me? And having that clear focus to be able to be successful.
True. Yeah. You got to create something that helps you see it. And I think so few people have even been taught how to come up with the simple thing as like a vision board. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that we take through a simple process of what do you want to be, do, and have. And we say, go out and find images on the internet and make that your background on your screensaver on the laptop that you're working on, or on the monitors that you're looking at every single day. Because we're all, for the most part, looking at computer screens. Well, we need to have these goals constantly in front of us. And if you put what a 4-year-old looks like, and you look at your 3-year-old, it gives you context to they're going to be 4. And the things that they do at 4 they'll never be 3 again. They'll never want to do 3-year-old things again. And those are the moments that give us clarity, that help push us in the back. And I think that's what Joey experienced and why his wife said to him after, me being able to figure this out, I'm thinking, your wife is amazing. Cause I feel like my wife would have been like, you need to get back to work. I don't know what you're doing.
She's the same.
But what she was experiencing is that I knew him. He was working 70-hour days or 70-hour weeks. And it sometimes probably seemed like days, but it was that she was wanting more of her husband back. And what we see when we're talking to people is they feel that pain. My wife is a dentist. You got hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, and then go to work and be 100% solely economically dependent on your ability to do the job. Because when she wasn't in the building, no one else could work.
And no income is coming.
And that created a ton of pressure on her. And over time, she started, just like the E-Myth would say with the baker, she started to hate the job that she loved so much that she was willing to spend 8 years of schooling to go do, and then go start a business and go hundreds of more thousands of dollars in debt in order to do it. She got to a point where she didn't enjoy it anymore because the pressure was she had to. And as we started opening up doors,
enjoyment out of things that started out as a passion, and that's why you made that career choice. It takes the enjoyment out of it. If you're forced to, you feel enslaved to your career, and it's that exchange of time for money.
Well, and that's what, you asked us about our 3 steps, and we've talked about clarity, which is the first step, which we believe is so important. To be honest, I think so few people actually get clarity. Yeah. They want to always jump to the things that Wealth Without Wallstreet may allow them to do and the investments and stuff. But we say, if you don't have clarity, none of that other stuff is going to matter. You're really going to muddy the water. You're not even going to know when you hit the point of freedom, because we've been asked that ourselves, because, one of our business coaches is commonly challenging us as to what is your number and where do you stop? And then how do you give up more of your duties to others so that you no longer are trading time for money? And I think so few of us actually know where that point is. And so clarity is so vital. And the second step allows us to then step into control. I feel like sometimes Joey and I act a lot like preachers, right? You got to have a 3-step approach, and it's the 3 C's. Okay. So you're going to see a theme here, but the second step is control. And as you already called me a control freak, this is kind of one of my favorite steps, because
that can be a good quality. That is not a bad quality.
I think it's a great quality. I love it. I adopt it. I'm all over it. But yes, control is important. And in order to have control, you got to have framework. You have to understand what the world is like. And like you said before, totally agree that not enough people have financial literacy. They don't understand the rules of the game. And we make this analogy a lot. The first time, Courtney, you play tic-tac-toe, you would say today is a really simple game. You understand the strategy. But the first time you played it, I'm assuming you probably didn't win, correct?
Well, most likely. But I'd like to say that I probably won right off the bat, but absolutely, probably not.
Well, the whoever was teaching you probably went ahead and started first. And as we know, statistically, whoever starts first has the highest probability of winning the game. And then they understood some of the basic rules. They understood if they could actually get 3 of the corners, they could win, right? And there's a couple other strategies, but the rules of the game, and as it pertains to finance, are immense. And if you don't understand the rules of the game and you have to play as you go, then ultimately it takes a while to learn. And I think that what you were saying earlier, financial literacy, most of us have not been taught those things, because who do we learn money from? Our parents, right? Maybe some mentors, but where did they get their information? Was it like ingrained from someone who has been immensely successful in business and other things? I mean, we look at Robert Kiyosaki and he talked about his rich dad and poor dad. Well, most of his education early on came from his poor dad, his biological father, who was very smart and intellectual, but as it related to money and entrepreneurship, knew very little. But his friend's dad, who did know a lot about entrepreneurship and money, he got a chance to be around that person. And for some of us, we've never had that chance. So the people that we've learned from didn't have much money. And so what we learned about money, unfortunately, probably came from a scarcity mindset instead of an abundant mindset. And so when we're talking to people,
when you think about, again, you were talking about where do you learn money from? And I was just speaking about this recently, that, talking about money is right up there with talking about politics and sex, right? I mean, it's like bad juju. You don't bring it up. You don't ask people how much they make. You don't ask people for advice. And a lot of people don't know anything about money when it comes to, maybe what their parents taught them. They didn't have those conversations. It's a private matter. And so because of that cultural aspect of how we think and feel about money, we really don't have a lot of options when it comes to where do we turn to? How do we get this information that we need? And so, as you said, we just learn as we go. And that's not the way to win the game, is to learn the rules as you go. And you're playing against people that are experts,
Yeah, no doubt.
Now let's take a moment to thank this episode's sponsor, Real Paper. Now, Real Paper is a tree-free toilet paper. It's made from 100% bamboo. It's plastic-free. 0% plastic. Even the packing tape is made from paper. And you've got home delivery options, so it's conveniently delivered right to your doorstep. And you're never going to run out of toilet paper again, because you can choose how often you want to have it delivered. And get this, every roll purchased helps fund access to clean toilets for people that are in need. And Real is delivered with free shipping. It's just the cherry on top. Now, I'm very excited for this. We have a coupon code for 25% off. It's financially free, and you're going to get that off of your first subscription order at realpaper.com. That's REEL paper.com. I will link the website in my show notes, and I'll make sure to put in that coupon code financially free so you can get 25% off. Let's take a moment to talk about this episode's sponsor, Smile Brilliant. Now, do you grind your teeth when you sleep? If so, you're among 40 million other Americans who also grind their teeth. And whether it's stress, anxiety, or an abnormal bite, chronic teeth grinding can lead to worn enamel, tooth decay, sleeplessness, and expensive dental procedures. The number one teeth grinding prevention recommended by dentists is the custom-fitted night guard, but it's costly, with an average dentist charging $200 to $300 per guard, and you're going to grind through several of those in a year. Using Smile Brilliant's Lab Direct process, you can get the same custom-fitted night guards, but for as little as $45 per guard. Also, Smile Brilliant has custom-fitted teeth whitening trays, which is amazing, and the Carry Pro electric toothbrush. So make sure that you head over to www.smilebrilliant.com and use the code JOURNEY at checkout, and you're going to get 30% off. Once again, that's www.smilebrilliant.com and use the code JOURNEY at checkout for 30% off. I'll make sure to link the website down in the show notes and in the show description. An important part of the journey to financial freedom is keeping your habits and your lifestyle in check. And as we all know, routines are a vital piece of the puzzle, but most of us find it difficult to create and stick to routines, whether it's in the morning, evening, or even just throughout the day. Well, today's sponsor is an app called Bookstop, and it helps with just that. Now, what's with the name Bookstop, you might ask? Well, your morning and your evening routines are often referred to as the book stops that hold your day together, like two book stops propping up the books on a shelf. Now, this app was created by a young man named Charlie, who's from New Zealand, and he has ADHD. Well, Bookstop allows you to create a list of tasks for you to complete different routines. Then when you're ready, you hit start and you proceed through each task one by one with a stopwatch running on the screen. Now, thanks to the stopwatch, you get a time score when you complete a routine. And that means that each day you can try to improve your score, getting through your tasks and your routines quicker and quicker, which I find phenomenal. Now, Charlie came up with this idea after reading a neuroscience and behavioral psychology study that shows the benefits of using self-competitiveness to release dopamine in the brain, which is a key ingredient in locking in and sticking to healthy new behaviors. And this makes Bookstop different from other apps and methods you might have tried in the past. And so far, the results are extremely promising. So if you think you can benefit from some help with locking in a healthy new routine, or you simply want to optimize your mornings and your evenings, then go to www.getbookstop.com and sign up for the app. Charlie is hoping to find 100 new people to help test the app and give feedback on it so he can improve it before launching it to the world. And get this, if you sign up on the website today, you'll lock in premium access to the app free for life as a thank you for being a beta tester and a listener to the podcast. So make sure that you go to www.getbookstop.com and sign up for the app today.
I want to continue on the control aspect of this, because what we found is that under that control piece, we don't know how to budget if we didn't start with that clarifying framework. Like if I know that passive income has to be greater than monthly expenses, then I need to follow where the money's going. Then I'm really motivated to look at a budget. I'm not so scared of it, which I think most people are scared of budgeting just because it kind of shines the light on their maybe their inability to stop spending in certain areas or whatever. But when we really get clear on, man, this is important to me, this financial freedom I'm seeking, so the budget becomes really easy then to run after. We start looking at taxes differently. We start looking at qualified plans potentially differently. Like you mentioned, like if I want financial freedom in the next 5 years, why would I continue to put money away that's going to not be accessible to me until I'm in my 60s? Like it just becomes a philosophical conflict at that point. And so I start thinking maybe there's other things that I should be doing with that money. And then lastly, where we save money becomes virtually the most important thing, because now I want it to grow. I want it to be protected. I want it to grow without taxes. I want all those things for my money so that I can then go into that third step. And that's where we really pick out our course. That's that third C that Russ was mentioning. And that's where I'm going to build my passive income streams that will eventually get me to financial freedom.
So tell me a little bit about step 3. It sounds like we've found out point A, really getting control, understanding, identifying where your starting point is, right? And that can be hard for a lot of people to be able to really look it in the face and say, you know what, I've got a spending problem, or my expenses are out of whack, or, every time I get a raise, it seems like I inflate my expenses, which is a big issue in our society, right? So we've found out, point A, and it sounds like we're setting course to point B, which is really setting your course. So talk to me a little bit more about setting your course. What does that mean?
Yeah, if it's okay, I do want to point this out because as Joey said, that when we look at money, we say that there's not this deferral. Now, we're not like free spenders in the mindset that you spend everything you have. But I would totally say that, you've probably read this book. If you haven't, I'd totally encourage you to go read it. It's a book called The Richest Man of Babylon. And in that book, it laid out very simple principles of how this person became the richest man of Babylon. But one of the things that always stood out to me is that one of the principles is that he lived off 70% of what he made. It never said he only spent so much money. he literally lived off 70%. So if we have a rising income, we can have rising expenses, but we should have margins. And I think what Joey said is when we have a framework to follow, then we can apply that. And so, yes, we can enjoy life, and we don't have to think of money in a scarcity mindset. One of my nephews came to me the other day, and he's reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I said, give me a takeaway. He said, I love the part where Robert Kiyosaki talked about buying a Porsche and paying for it with rental properties, making the monthly payment with rental properties. And I thought, yes, okay, so there's an opportunity of how you can enjoy your life and enjoy fine items, but how do you purchase them? You purchase them with other assets that produce income. So that's really what takes us into step 3. So first step is clarity. Second step is control. The third step, and the reason the third step is available because we actually did get control. We got our money in a place so we can access it. The third step then is what course of direction are we going to take? And we throw the term around passive income. Now, we don't mean uninvolved when we say passive income. We believe that we need to be educated and understand what's happening. And there's probably 5 key areas that the majority of our community follow in a way to create streams of income. And I'll go through a couple of those, and I'll maybe give Joey and I's experience, because we love to lead the charge on this stuff, Courtney. Every single month, you can listen to Joey and I's passive income report. Like, we started putting that out there about a year ago. We wanted to show the good, bad, and the ugly. And we wanted to let people know that we're pursuing the same thing you are. And while we have successes in certain places, we have pullbacks in others, but I think it gives context to what we're doing. And so one of those areas that we've seen a lot of success in is in the area of real estate. And there's lots of different types of real estate. And one of the areas that we found out about was buying and selling raw land. This seems to be the most profitable model I've ever come across. And it's because it's so inefficient and almost so stupid that nobody's willing to do it. We literally send out hundreds of postcards to people to buy raw land, little small chunks of raw land. I'm talking about like 0.25 of an acre, right? I'm not talking about like hundreds of acres. I'm talking about like fractions of acres. And we buy them at generally 25 to 30 cents on the dollar. And then we turn around and we sell them to mainstream America who would love to own God's green earth, who would love to have a piece of property that they could go live on with their family. But yet we make it affordable. We set it up in a monthly payment like a car note. And because of that, that's created streams of income for us. And we sell, 50, 100 pieces of property over the last 12 months in this little business that we've been able to learn and then put somebody in place who runs it for us. So Joey and I are not doing the daily activities, but we know what's happening. So that's one of those areas within the course of direction that we see people going down, is that they're trying to find another way to either supplement their income, because if you really love what you do, there's no reason to quit. But the beauty of it is that you make what you love to do passion income, and maybe you want to do it 20 hours a week, right? If I could go back to my wife and say, if you wanted to go back into dentistry, because we sold our practice 2 years ago, if you wanted to go back into dentistry and work 1 day a month, we could do that. And it's not about the money. It's because you love it. And for some people, it's not because she has
to, it's because she wants to. And that's the whole point, right?
Right. And so the only way we can substitute that, like my daughter's she wants to be an artist. And I was like, okay, sweetie, we're going to have to learn passive income, right? Because you're not going to most likely support yourself through that sort of income. But maybe you make your $10 a month there, and we make the other $9,990 in passive income. And now you've got your lifestyle.
I love that. It's supporting her passion instead of what we've been taught is, well, can you make a career? Will that be stable enough to support yourself and a family? And it really sounds like this is just a major shift in mindset is really what it comes down to. Because if you can get your mindset right, it seems like the possibilities are endless with the style of passive income that you can generate through your guys' process.
That's right. And the one thing I was we kind of probably left this piece out, but when you're looking at the different various passive income options, a lot of people don't know themselves well enough. Like what Russ was mentioning earlier was people get really excited about the shiny object. Like, what is Wealth Without Wall Street? What are those investment vehicles? Like, I want to buy into those. because they're excited
Just
about
tell
it.
me what to do. Right.
But they never got clarity. So they don't know how that's going to help them. They just want to talk about how cool it is that they do land flipping. Right. But the reality is some people are better suited to do this land flipping model. And some people are better to do creative financing to find rental properties or turnkey rentals, or we do e-commerce. I mean, there's all sorts of other passive income ideas you can learn. But the how is you find out who you are. And we have created an investor DNA profile. It's based off of like the DISC profile, but we partnered with them to create a financial bent to it. So you can start to see, well, what kind of things should I be focused on? What things do I need to stay away from? And maybe that directs you a little bit better to say, well, if I'm going to do this passive income, I need a partner because I'm going to be really weak in these areas and they need to be strong in them, or else this isn't going to be very successful. So people can actually download that. You can actually, in our community, you can access the investor DNA profile, takes like maybe 15 minutes, and it starts to inform. Now I can start making decisions on what course to choose. So I don't know if that to me is a huge step that people take.
And it sounds like a personality test, but for your investing style. Is that a way to think about it for the listeners?
100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally.
That's fantastic.
And when you have like feedback immediately, like one of the things that it tells me is that, Russ, you don't have to be in control of everything. I know you
That's
want
good for you to know. Yeah.
You need somebody else to be able to take the reins, because otherwise you're not going to have more time.
Right. So you can give up just a smidgen of control. That's good for you to know. Right. That's fantastic.
But
So
and there's the thing.
More examples of passive income, because I'm so curious. So with raw land, for example, and as you know, through the traditional financial industry, that's not necessarily something that a lot of people are talking about, right? So super fascinating. Do you have a couple more examples for the listeners of passive income streams that you guys are talking about?
Yeah, totally. So one of the ones that Joey and I got super excited about, we'd interviewed a couple of different guests that had been working in the short-term rental space. So for those you don't know that name, my wife included, Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com. We've stayed in those. So we have a large family as well. We have 4 kids. And, when we travel, it just isn't really feasible to stay in a hotel. So typically we're looking for condos, townhouses, homes to stay in. And so we have been really familiar with that. And I was interviewing with Joey these guests that were talking about the revenue centers they were creating. And what we came to learn, which was really interesting, is that there's models out there to actually get into the short-term rental game where you're actually leasing a place instead of buying a place. Now, Courtney, this blew my mind, because most of the time when people think about renting of any sort, they go, okay, how much money do I need to go buy the house? Okay, now
it's a lot of capital up front. That's where a lot of people get scared with real estate.
Exactly. Well, how much, I'm going to have to qualify for a mortgage, and then how much down payment I'm going to have. And when
repairs,
and a lot of times when people are starting out in this process, they haven't necessarily had their capital in a place they could access. So there's limiting factors to how much money they can get to. And what we were learning is that people were actually going out and doing what's called rental arbitrage. That's where you actually go to a homeowner, you go to an apartment complex, and instead of buying the property, you actually do a master lease. So we set up leases inside of these different complexes and rental houses where we may rent it for 1 to 3 years with the agreement. The homeowner or the building owner knows that we're going to then go put it on platforms like Airbnb and VRBO and turn around and rent it. Now, we were fascinated by this. Joey had a condo that the lease was coming up about a month or so after we'd been really digging in this. And we were like, all right, we're going to make the decision that we're going to take your condo, this 2-bedroom condo, and try it out. And he had this condo for maybe 12 years. The most he'd ever rented it out for in any given month was about $950. So we had learned what to do. We set it up. We actually had a professional design team come in because we didn't want to be out there, a couple of dudes putting together a futon and a corkboard, dartboard on the wall kind of thing. We had it professionally designed.
Nice. Don't slam futons. My God.
I'm not slamming futons. I'm just saying my college dorm room is what I would probably set it up with. It had nothing on the walls. And so we thankfully we paid professionals that came in. So all we had in it was the furniture that was put in it and a few painted walls. We had it put on Airbnb because we had learned a process. We'd started teaching ourselves how to do this. We put it on Airbnb and a couple other sites. At the end of the first 30 days, we brought in over $3,300 in cash compared to the $950 a month that he had been doing up to that point. And so that set us off on a whole new trail. So now we're up to 19 units. I guess we've been doing it maybe 9-10 months.
Not even, yeah.
and so we're up to 19 units and we are doing that. We are literally going and renting under a master lease program. And it's actually created in our community. We have an operator who handles all of this for us, and they actually teach. We teach it. We teach you how to get the first $500 of cash flow in 90 days. And we just teach them exactly what we did. And so that's been a really fun thing for us because we saw it as an opportunity for us to be in the real estate game, but take advantage of innovation and technology, right? Everybody knows long-term rental, and probably some people have experienced it good and bad. But this is a new area. And with actually COVID, it's actually enhanced the opportunity because so few people are willing to get in an elevator with somebody else right now, right? COVID, from my wife's perspective, has changed the game forever. People who even had slight amounts of germophobia are like accentuated and will always be that way. So when they can think of going into an apartment where they don't necessarily have to pass somebody in the hallway, they don't have to get in an elevator with somebody, they can see themselves being there and being able to cook their own food instead of going out to restaurants. All of that stuff has become much more viable. And this has become a space that we see as the next opportunity. And again, we still believe that we are so in the infant stage of this, but there's an opportunity, I think, for almost anybody. And we're teaching people. We're now in our second group of students who are going through this program. And we're doing it every 2 months where we're teaching people within 90 days how to get their first $500 a month in passive income just through the short-term rental space.
And guys, this is just, I want to remind our listeners that this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the community and the benefits that come with being a part of the community at Wealth Without Wallstreet. I mean, when I look at the benefits and things that were listed and you think about learning how to generate passive income through this arbitrage style, just that's a tiny nugget based off of what you guys are saying, because there's multiple different streams of passive income that people can learn from you guys. And so I just wanted to point that out, that it sounds like the community, which was going to be my next segment that I really wanted to ask you guys about. It sounds like there's so many benefits to being a part of the community that you guys have created. Can you tell the listeners just a little bit about that and how that started and where it's at now?
Yeah. So we originally started on Facebook, and we started to realize that people were having to be segmented. Like they didn't know they could go to the Facebook group. They could go over here. We had this other piece of software here. We had this other piece, these courses over here. And it was all kind of like,
disconjointed.
It definitely wasn't connected. And so we invested in creating an app that we could actually bring all those things into one place where we could offer courses, we could offer this kind of community feel and like a social connection that it almost looks like a Facebook feed whenever you get in there. And subsequently to have groups within there that people could engage in these specific passive income ideas. And so anyways, we started that. It's been maybe 2 years? Not even quite 2 years.
Almost 2 years. I mean, the whole purpose was that most people felt like they were on an island, right? You hear this podcast, you go talk to your closest 3 to 5 friends, and it's a good chance you may be the oddball in the group who's thinking about going down a path that's against the grain. And what we wanted to do is create a place where people could come together with like-minded individuals to learn the abilities, the skill sets, the mindsets that they needed to get to financial freedom. And that's where building courses and other, action steps for people to participate in. We also have what we call an inner circle, which allows people to get into weekly engagement with our coaches so that they can learn these steps on an ongoing basis without, some people are self-starters and they love courses. They love the do-it-yourself stuff. We also have the ones who are like me who need interaction, who need people and love the ability to ask questions and see things happen in real time and be able to get immediate feedback as to what should I maybe be looking to do next. And the community has given us that. We're, amazingly just surprised every day. Like we add probably 30 to 50 people a week into this community. And it's been one of those fun things to see grow and just see other people who are, we get questions in there daily. and people not our team are responding, right? Other people who are having success and who are maybe challenged with the same thing are giving feedback. And then just to see other entrepreneurs who are interviewing us and are on our podcast are going in there and are being able to network and add resources to others. And so we see this world from an abundant mindset. We think that the more we can add value to people, the more that they will be prepared to take action. And that's really what Wealth Without Wallstreet is. It's just a movement of people who want freedom now and are willing to take the sacrifices to get there, but just need a process, need a plan. And that's kind of what we laid out today in our 3 steps process.
Well, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people is a very powerful thing that you can do to really make sure that you stay on your path to success and really, chartering a path to where you want to go. And if you have other people you can bounce those ideas off of, and as we mentioned earlier, you may not get that necessarily from your best friend or from your parents. It may be someone that in a community where they really are on this path that, as you said, goes against the grain. And so it's not something to really, to take lightly, to have so many people that could support you in your goals. So I just think it's such a powerful tool that you guys have created. And I really want to make sure that the listeners know to just go check it out and see what it's all about. Where can they find this community? What's the website?
Yeah, so you can get there via our website, wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/community, or you can literally go to the App Store and search Wealth Without Wallstreet. It's the only one like it, and you can get there directly from your app.
That is amazing. Guys, I can't thank you enough. And for the sake of time, I think we could do like a 10-part series. I think I might jot this down as a good idea. I'm not even going to ask you guys. Guys, we're going to do a series with Wealth Without Wallstreet. So what I'll do is I'll make sure in the show notes to put the link to the website. And where else would the listeners be able to find you guys if they had questions or they wanted to check out more about your business and what you guys are all about?
Yeah, well, I would say we simplified it as much as possible from 2 guys from Alabama. We didn't want it to be really complicated. You could probably find us on Instagram. Yep. You could probably find us on Facebook. Unfortunately, we're not super active there because we spend all our energy inside the community. So, love to have you listening to us on the podcast, Wealth Without Wallstreet. But if you go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/community, you actually can private message us in the app. The app has kind of that DM type feature. And we would love to hear from you and let us know that you heard us on the show. That'd be an awesome treat to be able to, share with you too, Courtney, as people reach out. And we have that pleasure each week to be able to talk to people and then, point them in the direction, right? Because everybody's a different part on the journey. Some people are just now starting. Some people have just exited a business, and have 9 figures and they're trying to figure out what to do next. How do I turn that cash into cash flow? So our goal is just to be that resource to try to point people in the direction that helps them get closer to the goals that they've set for themselves.
Guys, take them up on that. Make sure that you send them a message. Let them know that you heard them here on the show. And I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time out and for us finally, after a year, getting this done, because I know that listeners are really going to benefit from this. And guys, do not underestimate the power of really diversifying, your income, your assets, and really expanding your knowledge when it comes to what you think about money and what defines your financial success. And so again, thank you for tuning in today and for listening to this episode. And until next time.